Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Vidhiyate. Atha Chaturvinshati Tattva Utpati Prakaram Bhakshyamaha. As already we have discussed, so as we have already discussed, that may one know evam satchit ananda swarupam swatmanam bijaniyat. So may one know one's own self as Sat, Chit and Ananda Swarupaha. So after analyzing one's own self in a systematic way, please understand all these analyses are required because your mind is complicated. If your mind is not complicated, you don't need any logic. The scripture gives enough of logic just to help you to resolve your complication, not to strengthen your complication. This is the problem happens with many people because of the lack of attitude or lack of other things. That's why you need to analyze systematically. But unfortunately what happens? You are very good in analyzing everything systematically except you, yourself and your emotions. How? After analyzing in a systematic way that I am Sat, Chit and Ananda Swarupa, here the author wants to discuss about this called Shakti Prakriya. How this creation has come to an existence. Of course, if you look at every religious people, every philosopher, including scientists, they do have their own approach with reference to universe. And you will discover everybody's approach differs. And interestingly, when the scripture talks, that's why I want to just give you a little bit hint here. Particularly here, whatever Shakti Prakriya has been discussed in keeping with the Taitya Upanishad. But before going to that, I would like to highlight here very carefully that the purpose of the scripture is not to talk about how this creation has come to an existence. So what are the methodology or how it created? That is not the purpose of the scripture at all. Scripture is not interested. But however, there will be curiosity to know what is the creation, how it has come. So just to throw some light to make sure that your curiosity is being addressed. That's why scripture talks about Shakti Prakriya. Because the main theme, the central purpose or the main purpose of the scripture is to understand that I am a free person. So that's why we say it's Moksha Shastra. So being a Moksha Shastra means gives liberation. Definitely, this understanding creation, you are not going to get liberation either. Maybe you will be a cosmologist. So becoming cosmologist is not the purpose of the scripture. There are many things, many texts are available. But here we do talk about the cosmos. The scripture do highlight about, do talk about the cosmos, just to make sure that whatever curiosity you have, the basic question that you have, it has to be addressed. So keeping that, he says, look, Atha Chaturvishati Tattva Utpati Prakaram Bhakshyam. Now we are going to talk, we are going to explain what? Tattva Utpati. So he says, when he says, this is the Utpati, how this creation has come to an existence. And there what he says, Utpati Prakaram, very nicely, the methodology here is being highlighted, talks about Chaturvinshati Tattva. That means this creation is made up of 24, let us say, elements or principle. So when it talks about that 24 Chaturvinshati, 24 principles, now the question suddenly will arise, oh, what are they? I would like to see. This is what I call curious mind. Because the mind wants to know, always to know, to verify whether whatever I know is right or not. Do I know or not? The mind does not want to know, always wants to verify everything. Wants to check. Please hold on. That's why the scripture, the author here just introduces and keeps quiet. Hold on, we will discuss as time comes. Don't worry. Okay? If this is the case, then what is all about it? Let us read the next. Brahmasraya Sattva-raja Tamo Gunatmika Maya Asti. Now, here the author introduces the word Maya. How? First says that Brahmasraya. So Ashraya means depending upon Brahman, taking shelter in Brahman. So what is Brahman? If we look at, that's what we have to understand it. So Brahman means Atman. There is no difference at all. Atma and Brahman are one and same. Just it is a different standpoint to relate. Sometimes we say, for example, let us say, from the individual standpoint, that is called Atma. From the total standpoint, the same principle is called as Brahman. If we want to give the example, for example, let us say the head of your family is, let us say, father, or the person, whoever the father is the head. So definitely he is your father. Now that person happens to the president of the country. Now if that person is president of the country, remember the same person. Now head of your family called father. Now same person, head of the country called president. Now the president and father, is there any difference? Just look at the example wise, okay? Don't try to stretch all the angles. Example job is just to make sure to help you to look at one aspect, not all the aspect, okay? Please. That's why many people say, oh, that is how the problem happens. When you overstretch the example loses its beauty. Same thing also Atma and Brahman. So here he says, there is something called Maya. The word Maya, we have to be very careful. This is what the beautiful incident which I shared many times. Pujya Swamiji, it had happened with Pujya Swamiji. Like there was a professor, so who was a professor in Advaita Vedanta. So there are universities, those who teach Advaita Vedanta. And of course there is a Swami, you know their way of talking, Advaita Vedanta. I am the professor, teaching so long. But I have come here to meet you. I have a doubt. And I thought you can clarify that doubt. Okay, Swami said, yes, please go ahead. What is the doubt? Just, I have understood everything. Because after all, I am professor. I understand everything in Advaita Vedanta. In fact, I have written a few books. Okay, great. Then what is the doubt? Tell me. Actually, I don't understand what is Maya. If you don't understand what is Maya, what do you understand about Advaita Vedanta? Means in reality, you understand nothing. So here he says, Maya Asti. So what is Maya? The word itself explains. Before entering into the technical part, let me explain the word itself. Because many people have got the confusion about this Maya. That's why a group of this people started calling as Mayavadin. Shankaracharya's group called Mayavadin. Because they did not want to get into complication. That's why they termed as Mayavadin. A lot of confusions are there because of this Maya. That's why I say they accept Krishna as Mayadhara. They accept Maya. Krishna is Mayadhara. But there is nothing called Maya. How is it possible? So they think Maya is magic. So how the Krishna did magic, so they expect that sort of magic. That's why this is called, different version of Maya. However, the word Maya says, Maya. Ma means that which does not exist. Ya, that which exists. Simple. In reality, that which does not exist, but it appears as though exists. That is called Maya. In short, what is called Mithya. So the Maya and Mithya are one and same. If you observe Mithya with reference to individual perception, Maya with reference to total perception. Suppose if there is something false, in reality that is not there, but you assume it is there. Now what happens? You hold on to that, you build up a lot of things. Then suddenly you discover it does not exist. What happens? The whole world, and of course you yourself, along with your world, you collapse. Here Maya says the total, let us say, falsehood, which in reality does not exist, but it exists. How? Let us look at. First, let us look at how this creation has come logically, so that it becomes easier for us to understand, because sometimes you want to see the logical analysis. If you observe, you ask any, let us say, scientist or logical person, a logical person will say the world is made up of matter and energy. Basically, the combination of matter and energy is called world. Okay, very good. Nothing wrong in it. Now my question is, where from this matter created? How did it? Because we have to find out matter, if this is the combination of matter and energy. So matter is created. Matter has to be created. Where from this matter comes? I'm just going the analytical mind along with the analytical mind, not our way. Now if we ask this question, because as you know, this conservation, the law of the conservation of matter and energy, that is very nicely states that matter cannot be created out of nothing. Remember this point. Says beautifully that matter cannot, because this is the law of conservation of matter and energy. The matter cannot be created out of nothing. So that means what? What does it mean? So if you say this universe which is created out of matter, okay, that is what? Now question is, now this matter which is the cause of this universe cannot come out of nothing. Okay, this is the law. Now what is your conclusion? What you will say? So you don't have any other choice other than accepting that this universe must have been existed in a potential form. What we discussed Karana Sarira, okay? It must have been existed somewhere or other, maybe in a potential form. Now technically what we say is, this potential form of the universe is called Maya. Let us go in logical way, let us not bring to the scripture, okay? So the potential form of the universe being Maya, now what happens? Now which is material, and material is what? As you know, material is inert in nature. So if it is inert in nature, now what happens? Now it has to depend upon something. And here it says, Brahmasraya, the Maya depends on Brahman. Because if we do not look at that way, so then it will become little differently or different thing altogether. That's why we have to see this Maya, and also this Maya is being talked in different ways, in different context. For example, sometimes we hear this Maya as called Shakti. In like for example, in Saivism and many other occasions, we call it as Shakti. Sometimes that Pradhanam, sometimes Avyaktam, sometimes Prakriti, sometimes Abhyakritam. There are different names of Maya. So wherever you come across this sort of words, whether it is Maya, Prakriti, Pradhanam, Shakti, Avyakta or Abhyakritam, all these things, nothing called again Maya. Now, if this is the case, as we know, now this Maya, how does this Maya? Same thing, whether it has been created or not. What is the status of Maya? Now let us look at this point. As we said, this law of conservation of matter of energy says that matter cannot be created out of nothing. That means it was in a potential form. That means if we look at that principle, that potential form cannot be created either. So if it cannot be created logically, if we look at, that means what? This Maya or that potential form is nothing but beginningless. So what we call technically as Anadi, because I thought of going along with the science. So as Brahman is Anadi, beginningless, so also Maya is beginningless. So we cannot say that when the Maya was created and how it was created. So if we look at this principle, that's why we need Maya. We need to bring Maya for any creation. And especially unless and until we bring the Maya concept carefully, that personally, that emotional growth will not happen. How? I'll just try to explain little emotionally how it works in life. It is exactly like a child being brought up with a single parent. If a child is being brought up by a single parent called father, or the child is being brought up with a single parent called mother, both way is not healthy. Yes, of course, if let us say somebody has passed away, either the father or mother has passed away, that is another thing altogether, because there is a lot of other psychological impact. But even if the father or mother they are there, but if the child is being brought up with single parents, definitely that child will not have that psychologically, the child will not be healthy at all. So to have a healthy mind, if a child wants to have a healthy mind, he has to grow up along with both. Same thing also, if we look at, here we can look at, this concept of Brahman and Maya. So we can look at Brahman as the father, Maya because Shakti, the other name is Shakti, so Maya as the mother. So when we bring the Maya concept, this becomes easier for us to accept many things, to see our emotional growth with reference to this universe. Or else what will happen? We say, dry Vedanta, especially Sankhyayikas. Or you can say sometimes this Neo-Vedantins. Only think, but in reality get nothing. So that's why symbolically we can also look at that this Maya as universal mother. So now we can say that Brahman also beginningless, Maya is also beginningless. Now as we have seen it, now consciousness, that also we have seen, is also beginningless. Now the matter, as per our this analysis here, matter is also beginningless. Both are, can you see, Brahman is consciousness, Maya is matter. Now if both are beginningless, Now both becomes Anadi. Now also we derived here that Maya symbolically can be called as universal mother. So if it is universal mother, we can accept Brahman as universal father. If it has to happen, okay? Please understand. Because it is just imagination, just to present you in a different way altogether, to see the emotional growth in one's own self. Because at the end of the day, what happens? I need to grow. Please understand. If I don't grow, world will continue. All the teaching and everything is related only to my growth, nothing else. If I don't grow, this teaching has no value for me. So that's why you have to understand scripture very carefully. Or else what will happen is, you will look at scripture as entertainment, or to develop your intellectual muscles. That is not the purpose of the scripture at all. Scripture purpose is to grow emotionally. So here, now if you look at this Brahman and Maya, this relationship is, remember, one is independent, other one is dependent. So that means that which is independent Brahman, even though both are, remember beginningless, both are Anadi, the one which is independent is called Satyam. Whereas the one which is dependent, because Maya being matter principle, so that means what? Definitely it cannot, it doesn't have independent status. So it has to dependent. So being dependent, the Maya becomes Mithya. So that means it is inert principle. So that means it really falsifies. That's why it says Brahmasvaya Maya iti. So the Maya takes shelter. The Maya is dependent on what? The Brahman for its very existence. The Maya to exist, it needs. It is exactly like mirage. Just example sake, I am trying to say. The mirage has to depend upon the sun. Unless there is a hot sun, unless, please understand, really hot sun, there cannot be any mirage either. Because in reality, there is no mirage either. So let us not get into too much into this, all this aspect. So what we need to say here is, now if this is the case, now this Maya has got attributes. And what are the attributes? He says it has got 3 gunas. You can say 3 types of attributes, and or you can say Shakti, power, anything, no problem. And what are they? Because we have seen very carefully that this, when we discussed that 3 shariras, 3 koshas, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha and vijnanamaya kosha. I hope you remember. 3 aspects we had spoken about that Kriya Shakti, Ichha Shakti, and also we had talked about Jnana Shakti. So we can little bit carefully talk about very nicely. Here he says, little different, not like that. Now this Maya has got 3 gunas. One is called Jnana Shakti, what is called Sattva, represents Sattva. Then comes Kriya Shakti, represents Raja, and called Dravya Shakti, represents Tamas, the state of inertia. So there, because it becomes easier for you to remove that Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and here Dravya Shakti. That means what? The faculty of knowledge. So that means this represents Sattva, that is called Sattvic aspect. And Raja. So Raja Guna means the power of action. Now you want to do something. The Maya is related to activities. So that is called Kriya Shakti. And the third one is called Dravya Shakti, related to Tama Guna, the power of inertia, means nothing to do, okay? The power that will, suppress other two powers. That where there is no faculty of knowledge, means faculty of knowledge is dormant. And of course, faculty of activities, related to the activities also is dormant, means completely suppressed. Now, he says, this Brahmasayaha, Maya, with these three aspects, Sattva, Raja and Tama Guna, and with his own qualifications, it is there. And this Maya, one has to really understand and one has to learn to accept this Maya concept very carefully. A lot of discussions are there. Now let us look at. With this, we have to go to the next. How this creation has come to existence. A one format is being given. Tataha Akasha Sambhutaha Akashat Vayuho Vayuho Tejaha Tejas Apaha Advya Prithvi, which in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Akasat Vayo Agni. That concept comes here. Says how? Says look, from Akasha, from the space. Okay, sorry, Tataha. First thing is we have to say Tataha. So that means it's very carefully points out Tata means we have to understand that this Trigunatmika Maya, and of course which was dependent on Brahman. So from there comes Akasha. So Akasha means the space, and of course when it comes to space, then from space comes air. From air comes fire. From fire comes water. And from water comes earth. Now, why he talks beautifully says, let us read also next. So with this reading, we'll stop it. Etesham panchatattvanam madhye akashasya Sattvika Amsat Shrotra Indriyam Sambhutam, which we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow is Prathama. Okay, we'll see tomorrow. Let's close your eyes. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Ashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.